What is up, YouTube? A little bit of a different video this week. I'm working on mastering my new album, Songs About Dogs. As you can hear, if I play back. Alright, well anyway. So what I thought I'd do is, I thought I'd do a little bit of a DAW capture. So I work in Logic Pro. So if you're interested in like mixing and mastering your own music, this episode might be interesting to you. If not, you can just skip this one. Basically, this channel is about doing all this music stuff on a budget. One of the ways that you can do stuff on a budget is to have your own recording studio and to do your own mixing and mastering. I am right now mixing on a pair of ancient Alesis Monitor 1s. They're powered by this Mackie power amp, which is a FR800. It gets 200 or 300 watts per channel, I forget. Anyway, really clean, good sounding amp. So yeah, I'm gonna show you kind of some mixing and mastering stuff, and that'll be the video this week. So what we have here is a song called Canine Calamity. This is Logic Pro, and this song is sort of like a small band swing. I'm gonna give you a little bit of what it sounds like here. Okay, you get the idea. What I'm specifically looking at with this track is, first I want to make sure that everything is in balance. And, you know, obviously, I've already been working on this track a bunch. So I'll just give you, going into the chorus, so you can hear, like, some vocals. 'Cause I'm a canine calamity out on the dance floor. I got 4 left arms and that's for sure. I'm a canine calamity out on the dance floor. I start dancing, everybody runs for the door. All right, anyway, I feel like I've got my levels balanced pretty good. You can see on my tracks color coordinated over here, so I've got a different color for each instrument. The horns all together are one color. And then down here, I've got a trombone solo and I got a trumpet solo, both of which come in at the end, and then vocals here. If you've never seen Logic before, it's set up pretty much like every digital audio workstation is, like every DAW is. You've got individual tracks, you have a timeline. And then for whatever track I click on here, I can see the properties over here. So if I go back to my drums, let me solo the drums. See, I've got some EQ that isn't doing anything right now. I've got a compressor, and then I'm sending it to, and then I'm not sending it to reverb. I'm not doing very much with this. Let's see what the compressor's set to. So very low ratio. Okay. So for each track here, they're all processed differently. Upright bass, that's you can see the EQ here. I took a little bit of low end off, and then I wanted to increase kind of the thump attack, so to speak. So I'm not going to go through all the tracks, but you get the idea. One interesting thing here is this track Drum Converter. That's basically just a software instrument track, so like a MIDI track. And the reason for this is, if you look at the built-in drummer in Logic Pro, you've got controls down here for how the drummer plays. You've got different drummers you can choose, different drum sets you can choose, and then sort of the artificial intelligence. But if you ever want to override that, what you can do is convert it to MIDI, and you'll see this is what I did here, right? So if I pull this up, you can see the track is converted, right? And so behind the scenes, this is what the software drummer really is. It's using MIDI. So anyway, that allows you to move individual beats around, etc., and so on. So if you want to change some things, take out a crash or whatever you want to do. Okay, but I'm supposed to be talking about mixing and mastering. So one thing I've got here is I've got a bridge section where I want to automate the volume of all the horns together. And so I'm going to show you right here. I'm coming out of the chorus, and I'm going into a bridge, and I want the horns to get softer and then gradually build. So I've automated the fader down here, and this is all the horns together on a bus, mixing bus.
I stop dancing, everybody runs for the door. Maybe if I move one paw.
See, I think that's too soft, so I'm going to increase this just a little bit. Let me hear it now.
Maybe if I move one paw, no one gets uptight. Maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's the idea. Logic, like pretty much every digital audio workstation, is extremely powerful. There's a lot that you can do with it. And you can basically draw a timeline with as many points on the line as you want to automate every single fader for every single track. So this gives you a ton of control. And you can hide or show that. Let me hide it. The other cool thing is, you'll notice I've got one track on here for vocals called comp vocals, right? So if you look down at the vocals down here, how they're labeled, see this says new Vox 2, this says new Vox 1. That's because I sang the song several times and then I pulled together, copied and pasted the best parts of each take. So in Logic, you can hide tracks. And so I've hidden the previous vocal tracks, and here they are down here, right? So I've got all these tracks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks worth of vocals where I've got them muted and I've got them hidden. So I can just clean them out, and so this is what the tracks look like. Now, if I want to pull up a regular looking mixing board, I do Command 2, and for anybody who's used an audio mixer before, this should look kind of familiar. So here's my EQ, here's all my plugins. So let's go down here and we'll have a look at this channel. This is the stereo output, this is the master out.
If I move too far.
So the very first thing I have on here is a multipressor. This is a compressor that's actually 4 compressors in one, and each one of them handles a different part of the frequency range. So
Everything's all right. Maybe.
And what this does is it does a good job of, like, if there's a lot of low end that needs to be compressed, it can compress it without messing around with the high end. So it's a really clean compressor. And then after that, I've got a gain. And the gain, I'll tell you what the gain is. I use the gain basically to just check the mix in mono. So watch.
If I move 3 paws, it won't be
Mono.
so bad. Maybe if I move on 4 paws, everybody gets mad.
And the reason you want to do that is because a lot of people listen on like Bluetooth mono speakers these days. It wasn't bad enough that we went from nice stereo systems down to crappy iPhone headphones. Now we've got mono Bluetooth speakers, so we're going back to the days of like the transistor radio, apparently. But so you have to check your mix in mono and just make sure it's not totally messed up.
Canine calamity.
All right, so stereo,
Out on the dance floor.
considerably better. Here's something kind of interesting. In this gain module, you can take out the middle. So now I'm listening to just the left channel and none of the middle channel or the right channel, and it's in mono. Check it out. This is sort of one of the ways that software can take vocals out of songs. Well, anyway. Okay. So then finally we've got a limiter here. And right now I've got this set to a little over 2 decibels gain, and the limiter's not even kicking in at this point. But that brings us to the last, What the limiter does is it allows you to set like a ceiling for the audio, and then if it gets too loud, it just cranks on the limiter. So I'm going to crank up the gain so you can see what this looks like. Right, at that point in time, it's starting to sound like a record that was mixed in the 90s or like the 2000s, right? when the loudness wars was like a big deal. Everybody wanted their stuff to be as loud as possible. And as a result, everything sounded like garbage. It's really better if you're not limiting, but the limiter is a great thing to just keep if there's like 1 or 2 times in the song where the song gets too loud, you can clamp down on it. So it's great at that. Okay. So now last but not least, we have some metering here to check the LUFS, right? And so Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube all have different LUFS ratings that they are going to put your song at. So you can think of LUFS as sort of like an overall volume for the whole song. And what most people will tell you these days is when you're mastering, you should master to a level of -14 LUFS. So you can see right here I'm in the 15s, so I can actually go a little bit louder. Let me just kind of loop through the chorus here because I want something loud in the song. Okay, so I'm going to increase the gain. Okay, so what I was doing here is playing around with the gain and continually resetting the loudness meter to try to get somewhere around -14. This is pretty close. And this is really good because what this means is I can master at this level and my limiter is not kicking in at all. So there's a lot of dynamic range in this recording still, and that's exactly what I want. This is also a trombone solo, by the way. So really what you would want to do is you would want to run the entire song to get an overall integrated LUFS level. You can do what I did and just pick part of the song and do it this way, and this will probably be pretty similar to the whole song, but if you run it through the whole track, then you'll get an overall number. So how Spotify, for example, uses LUFS is that if something comes in and it's mixed really loud, like let's say it's like -8 LUFS, what they'll do is they'll use software to automatically make it quieter to bring it down to 14. So if you try to mix your music louder so it'll be louder than the competition, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube all do the same thing. They just reduce the volume of your song. And so there's really no point in trying to make something ridiculous loud at this point. These streaming services have pretty much solved the loudness war. And that's a really good thing. And so it allows our music to sound dynamic, like this. Okay, so now this thing is pretty much ready for me to do like a mix and then listen to it on my studio monitors, listen to it in my car, and I'll also check it out on my iPhone earbuds because they're the most popular headphones in the world by number. So if I can make a mix sound good on all of those, I'm doing pretty good. Okay, I think that should about do it. Thank you very much for watching this walkthrough. If this is something you're interested in or you have any questions, let me know in the comments section. My channel isn't really about audio recording, but it is about everything having to do with guitars, and that would include performing and recording. So from time to time, I'll probably do one of these types of videos. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you want to. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like it's justified. And I will see you again next Friday at 5.